Alright, so come back to this a little bit. So set title. Let's set the title for the label image right there, and set label image is here, and set text area is here, which set image view, right? We call set image view for the flag, and set description for the text area. Now when we run the program for text area demo, we technically just create an instance of description pane, call the method set title, pass the title in, create a text area, create the image view, and create an image view and set into image view, create the text area, set into the set description, recommend the size of the scene, and show the scene, set the scene on the primary stage and show the scene. So that's how we get this. Windows up. The key that we want to look at is scroll pane. That makes text area scrollable. There's one live code right there, and pass text area into it when you create a new scroll pane. So checkbox, that's the next one. Checkbox that you could use is ComboBox, and you have to, this is a generic, so you have to specify what type of object, like a string showing, list of numbers showing. So we can add the items by using getItems.addAll into the list of ComboBox. Set the style, set values. Besides that, we can just use observable list to add the observable list to the ComboBox, or pass the observable list into the constructor parameters here to get a list when you generate the ComboBox. Now ComboBox pretty much has the ComboBox base, right, which has the value selected in the ComboBox, like which one I'm selecting is returned at values. Editable, where I specify whether the ComboBox allows user to input. You can just input directly to ComboBox if it's editable. On action, specify the handler for processing the action event. So we pretty much just do the action onto the object ComboBox, right? Like what happened if I select the item, what you want to do on the ComboBox. So we have to have event header for that. So now after extend is create items. Like I said, items, it is an observable list type, so we can make a list. An observable list is just like a list, a collection like array list or an array, have all the items in it. So when we run the program, if we have the list, then this ComboBox has a list of all the items from observable list. Instead of add one by one, you can just add the whole list. But that list is the type of observable list. Now, visible row count. The maximum number of visible rows of the items in the ComboBox pop up. We can set, like when we do drop down, how many rows you want it to show. Like this one is 4 rows. You can have it expanded bigger than this. These are the constructor when you create a ComboBox. Like you can just create the list and pass that, or you can just set the list by getItems.addAll later. So we're going to look at the same, expanding the previous example by adding the ComboBox on the top. So we're going to create an array, right, named flag titles, and add all the countries' name to the flag titles array. We create another array of flag images, add the list of all the images into the array. And we create flag description, an array of the flag description, and give the description of the flags. Once the program starts. Now, we have description pane and ComboBox created. This is string. Create a body pane. Set display default country to 0, which is always 0 is about Canada, right? Canada image and the Canadian's national flag descriptions. So that's why we just set display to 0, and we can look at the set display method later down here. So it pretty much just bring everything at index 0 up. Now border pane, just create a border pane, then you can set the label for the pane for ComboBox and set the center of the ComboBox and have the pane for ComboBox into the border pane to the top. And set preferred width 400, set values to Canada. This is for the ComboBox, and this is just ComboBox width and the values, the selected default. Now, observer list, like I said, we can add all the observer list items which we created. Observer list, which is fx collections.observer array list. We just change that into array list. Change from array to observer list. Right? Passing array. Use observer array list. Pass array in flag titles. This is an array that we just created. It's get converted to observer list type. Then we can add into the ComboBox. That's another way to create ComboBox list items. And we put the description pane to the center. On action, so we add the action listener to the ComboBox. Like when we select the item on the ComboBox, right? It's going to handle by called set display and pass the index by do.getValues. Index off, then we pretty much just get the item itself, the actual item's name in the string back and pass to display. Actually this is an integer, right? Because this is string back, get values, and index off, get an integer of that. Then you can set the titles of an array index. Like I said, we can look at that later. When you set display to 0, you specify the title to Canada, right? Image of the Canada flag and description of the Canadian. So that's how we write a program to run this application. And once you switching the ComboBox, and it just updates based on the action listener here, right? Past the different index, so the rest should be re-updated and display. Alright, so next is ListView. So ListView is pretty much just like ComboBox, right? But it's, instead of drop-down box, it's just a list that you can scroll through. And then you can select multiple instead of select just a single. ComboBox is like you only do single, right? So you can select multiple now by just set mode to multiple. So let's look at the way you construct exactly the same. You can use observer list, create a list instead of an array. You can just specify like an array, comma, and generate a list through the constructor and set the selection mode. You're allowed to make it select more than one, the mode dot multiple, right, through the get selection model dot set selection mode. And when you add listeners, you can add the listeners to the list view through this get selection model dot selected item property add listener. And then this is just like what we did, right? New invalidation listener. So it's going to call invalidated when something like selected. It's going to get and return the selected model, if you do LV dot and then get selected indices, return all the indices of the selected item back. Or you can just do get the selected items, returns the selected items itself back. So ListView selected item property.add listener. Right, so this one pretty much just you add listeners. Right, same thing. But we want to use lambda instead, right? By simplifying it. This one we didn't simplify it. So we can just say OV, right? And do lambda selected in the indices selected items out. OV is just the observable, just like that. Invalidated is the one that we use, but use lambda instead. Now, in this case, this program is going to modify to just list view. We have the list of all the countries, then you can do multiple select, and it's going to list all the flags showing up, right, based on the country that we selected. So let's look at the program, how we do that. The same flag titles, image view, right, flag titles, image view. We start, we create list view, and we can pass that with the convert array to observable list. Says preferred size, and allow the multiple, right, mode selections. Create pane, border pane, and make it scrollable. Like you may see, you can scroll to that. So, I mean the image, we don't see the image big enough to scroll. When it have a lot of flags, then we can scroll the image. So scroll pane, list view. So we can do list view, which under scroll pane, list view itself can be scrolled now too. And then pane.setCenter, which is image pane, right? Set left is a scroll pane. Image pane we should do scroll too, but this one didn't do that, right? So now level view, this is just add the listener to the list view, I'm sorry, right? Get selection model, selected item property dot add listeners, and use lambda, right? Observable view, image pane dot get children dot clear. So we just clear the old image and populate with a new one by use for each, right? And get the selected item and add that image to image pane. So that's how we do it, and loop through it. Every time there's an action to select it, clear the old one and populate a new one through the loop. Okay, so that's the list view. Now, again, the difference between ListView and ComboBox is only like you're allowed to have multiple views, right? Selected, it's like the list. Same thing, and I can add to the scroll pane. Scroll bar. We already know what scroll bar. We use it all the time. It can be vertically, horizontally. So the scroll bar has the attributes like block increment. Like when you adjust, right, the scroll bar to track the bar, when it's clicked, you want it to increment by 10, 100. It can be faster if the number is bigger, slower if the number is smaller. And we can set the maximum value represented by the scroll bar, and we can set the min to, and set the unit increment. Right, if it's 0 to 100, you can increment to 1, 2, 3 to 100. If it's 0 to 10, every time you click, it's increment faster, 1, 2, 3, and 10. It's a bigger max, then it's slower, right? You can set the values of the scroll bar, current location, visible amount, width, right? And orientation, like vertically, horizontally. And the method increment and decrement